self-awareness. I am your host, Rose, and this is part 2 with my very special guest. And she will give you a brief introduction of herself and all the great work she's doing in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. I am Miss Abena. I am the founder and creator of Bronx Holistic Healing. I coordinate holistic healing events in the Bronx and beyond. I've been coordinating events since January 2012 to inform the Bronx community about holistic healing, about natural healing, about awareness and self-development.
Yes, and we're going to continue from part 2. We was talking about fear,
Yes.
and you had a good idea to express to the audience about fear.
Yes, fear is commonly said, fear is false evidence appearing real. And sometimes we're facing issues in life, and it doesn't really have to be a big issue, but our thoughts and feelings about it and our fears just make it much, much bigger. And I think also that what's also associated with the fear is maybe some shame. If we're going through an issue, we may not want to share it with people because we feel ashamed of letting people know, like, what will people think if
Thank
they
you.
know that I'm going through this, when you don't know what other people are experiencing.
Thank you.
So it's very important to know that first, the things that you're going through, you are fully equipped to deal with them, and it's perfectly fine to share what you're going through because your story can help heal someone else.
Thank you.
Very often you may be speaking with someone and telling someone what you're going through, and how many times they say, you know, that happened to me also, or that happened to so and so, because sometimes we get trapped in our stories and we feel we're alone. With all the millions of people in the world, we're not alone. So it's important to know that we don't have to feel ashamed of our stories because we are not our experiences. We are not what's happened to us. They just become our stories when we just repeat them over and over again, and we develop this consciousness that this is who I am, but it really isn't. So fear is something that you can learn to sit with. You can learn to just sit with it and examine and say, why am I feeling this way? What am I really afraid of? What do I really think is going to happen? And it turns out that most times what we have in our minds, what's going to happen, is not going to happen at all.
And that is so true in part 2 of the Why book. I was talking about when I was in the therapy, and I was afraid to open up. And I think it had more to do with I didn't want to feel that pain to that degree because I've always been feeling it because we act it out. You know, we shop it, we sex it, we eat it, we gossip, we worship it, you know. We do all kind of addictions because that's really what it boils down to is an addiction. And when I was dealing with the psychiatrist, I told her that I had this dream that someone we knew killed my husband in the dream. And she said to me, you really need to leave that marriage because I've been going to her maybe at that time, maybe about 3 to 4 months. And she said, it don't sound good. But I said, but it wasn't me that killed him. I said, in the dream, we at the funeral, but everybody was looking at me like I did it. And I'm saying, no, this lady we know, she did it. So a week later, I stabbed him and almost killed him. And that really helped me move past the fear, because the fear was still there. But first thing in my head, and it's the ego, what you gonna do? You got 3 little children. you're working at a factory making $1.25 an hour. How you gonna pay, the rent and all the other bills and stuff? And when I finally got the courage to work through the fear and left, everything panned it out good. And I'm like, okay, God, I could have been did this. And the Creator said, yeah, but you let the fear paralyze you.
Yes.
And that's what we do in most cases. We let the fear stop us. And this is what I explained to people on one of the shows. Every time I do a show, I'm in fear.
Yeah.
And once I get here, open up and start talking, it goes.
Yes. Yes.
And and the same thing when I opened up my 2 stores. I was afraid. First of all, I didn't know what I was doing.
Yes.
I'm just, okay, you open up a store, you get a register, you get your products and stuff, and you put a sign up. And I did it, and I was very successful and made a lot of money, but I misused the money. But I learned, and everything is a learning experience. And I think the fear, and see, people hear the word fear, and they panic, and they think it's bad. And I talked about it in my first book, how I used fear to heal the disease that the 2 hospitals say was incurable.
Yeah.
I was so afraid that I would suffer and die like my grandmother and my other relative that I watched growing up. That's what pushed me to learn what I needed to learn. And it's how you use fear.
Yes.
So I think because like you say, what is the fear telling you?
Yes.
What are you afraid of?
Yes.
And just like being successful, a lot of people of color is afraid of being successful because first of all, they don't think they're worthy. I don't deserve this.
Yes.
So, but every time I work through fear, it just makes me more powerful.
Yes. 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 I think that's part of the process, unlearning fear and learning to deal with it, because it doesn't have to be your enemy. It can
Thank you.
Yes, the fear does not have to be your enemy. It's something that you learn to work through and grow through.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is because, think about it, and I have seen this, a person was so fearful, running from something and ran into it.
Yes, 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 I could see that.
And you got people who should run,
Yes.
the fear paralyzed
Yes.
them, and they don't run and get eaten.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
See, so it's all
Absolutely.
about how we use it.
Yes, absolutely. I think what we attach to the fear, it's like we attach ourselves and our stories and our essence to the fear, when we just understand that fear is just something that is temporary. It's something that we just deal with in the moment. You can just sit with the fear and ask, when something is going on, what is this teaching me?
Thank you.
What is this teaching me? Because things come into our lives to show us something and to teach us something. And we have 2 choices. We can either react to and respond to it, or we just don't do anything and we just stay stuck. So fear can really be something that's really, really good for us also. And when you find that when you surmount the fear, when you go through it, you've reached another level of healing. You learn more about yourself. For one, you learn that you made it through. And we really, really are equipped. They say you never given more than you can handle. And I do believe that. It's just we put up so many walls and blocks and everything like that we don't see our own inner strength. We don't see our own power. So I think that's something that we should be working on, in our development, learning that we do have power. But here in this society, we're just not taught about power. We're just taught how to look good, like he who dies with the most toys wins. Or what was that movie, Get Rich or Die Trying?
Oh!
Our choices and our goals are very limited. I find sometimes people don't have vision, Like, what is the
Thank you.
vision for your life? Your life can be whole. Your life can be more than these 3 blocks or your neighborhood. There's a whole world here. What is your whole life? You're here for a purpose, for a divine purpose. You know, it may take you years to find out what that purpose is, but you do have a reason for being alive, for being here in this place. So I think that this is another thing that we just need to go through with our self-development. Again, the internet has so many resources,
Thank you.
books. There's so many things out here. When we say, well, what do I want? You know, yeah, ask yourself, what do you want? What do you really want to do? What do you want to do with your life?
Well, like I say in my books, what will be your legacy when you leave here?
Yes.
What, and like Dr. Blair say, not a legacy is not what I forgot exactly what he said, but he was saying it's not about the labor and the title. It's what did you do divinely to help make the world a better place to evolve?
Yes.
Because we are distracted by so much negative entertainment.
Yes. Yes.
And,
very
and
much.
I mean, it's everywhere. The books, the magazines, the TV shows, and they're getting worse and worse and worse. And people are glued to these shows.
Yes.
And it's about zero.
Yes. Yes.
And it's keeping them on a low vibration.
Yes.
And they say, oh, well, it's just entertainment.
No.
But that is energy
Yes.
that is going within.
Yes.
And your subconscious mind, after a while, it absorbs all of that.
Yes.
And one day you wake up and wonder why you're so angry
Yes.
and why you're so hateful and why you stressed. You absorb all of that energy.
Yes.
And
Yes.
some of these actors, the way they be acting, you can feel when they're angry, you can feel that energy. And
Yes.
people absorbing all of this and they think it's just entertainment.
Yes. Yes. We're taking it all in. So
We-
it's like our energy diet.
Thank you. That's exactly what it is.
Yes. So you're taking this in, and what are you putting out? You're taking in all of this negativity, and what is it that you're putting out? Like, you know, if you take the subways in the morning, and it's 7 o'clock in the morning, why are you so angry? You know, it's only 7 o'clock.
7
Why are you so angry and irritable and annoyed? But it is what we're taking in, and when you do make those shifts, and okay, maybe I won't have my music on it like, you know, volume 10. Maybe I'll turn it down, or maybe I'll listen to something different. Maybe I'll change up the frequency.
Yes.
You know, I know in the streets they call it vibes or whatever, but that is very true.
Yeah.
You can be around someone and see how they make you feel. You may be in a good mood. And I've definitely had situations like this. You're in a good mood and you're around someone, and after a while you start to feel very funky.
Thank you.
You know, so that stuff is very, very real. Frequency and vibration, it's so important. So, you know, if you're constantly experiencing the same things over and over and over again, maybe you should look at changing your routine. You know,
Yes.
what are the things that you're taking in every day? You know, not just the food, but the music, and what kind of conversations are
Thank
you
you.
having? You know, what kinds of things are you and your friends talking about?
And what are we reading?
Yes, yes. All these things that we're taking in, like what you're watching on television. If you're talking about politics all the time and how bad things are, well, you're going to be experiencing that. You're going to be getting more and more of that. So we definitely need to look at the things that we're taking in and surrounding ourselves with. Those things are important.
But see, they didn't teach us this, because when I started learning about energy and vibration and that you consuming this, I had to take the TV out of my bedroom. And I never felt so free, because I used to sleep with the TV on, and they said whatever comes on, even after you fall asleep, negative, your subconscious mind is consuming it.
Yes, yes.
And and it's been about 20 years now, no TV in the bedroom. And I feel I have no stress.
Yes.
I don't feel agitated or anything because I didn't know that till I got into spirituality, and especially with all these negative commercial, it's a pill for everything.
Yes.
They keep creating all these
Quick
diseases and viruses.
Yeah.
Go get this. I haven't had a flu shot probably in 40 years and never had the flu since.
Yes. And
I
so-
don't even get a cold.
Yes. And so many things are promoted as quick fixes
Thank
in
you.
this society. It didn't take, 2 weeks for you to be in the situation that you're in. So a pill, a tea, even a herb, they're not going to affect change
Overnight. Yeah.
overnight. So the whole thing about development is a process. And one thing that I think is important is the words that we use.
Oh, yes. Word is power.
I have not said broke in many years. Broke does not exist for me. Yes, I can be temporarily out of cash.
Thank you.
But how I see life is, this is an abundant universe. We exist in the same universe as Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, all these millionaires, and we have access to the same resources, but it's our consciousness. If you say you're broke, you're broke, you're broke, you're going to keep getting more of that. We are not broken. We
Yeah.
are alive and vibrant. We are not broken, because everyone can always point to a time where they didn't have money and then money came from somewhere.
Thank you.
Someone owed you money and you forgot about it and it came. Or a check was due and it came.
Yes.
Someone said, oh, let me take care of your lunch or whatever. So we can always point to examples where you were provided for. So if there's one thing, part of my legacy is for people to stop saying broke. You're not broken. You're not broken. You're here for a purpose. You're never broken.
And what you're saying, how money can come from anywhere, I think it was maybe 5 years ago, this man, Mr. Hawkins, he started watching my show in 2 months. Never met him. And he called me. I think we talked twice on the phone. The third time when he called me, he asked for my address, said he wanted to send me a donation. And I never met this man. And I only was conversating with him 2 months. And maybe 3 times, conversing. And he sent me $1,000 cash. When I opened up the envelope, I started shaking. I couldn't believe this. And I said, oh, it must be,
Counterfeit bills or
$100 on the top, and maybe the rest was 20s. It was $1,000 cash. And I never, with all the people that I talked to, counsel, and nobody never donated $100. I mean $1,000 cash that I never met before. And he sent me more money after that, and jewelry, and he made Afrocentric outfit. I mean, a really good soul. And like you were saying, there was time I didn't have money at that time, and I'm walking to my apartment. 3 people just passed and walked over, and there was $20, just like it was waiting on me.
Yes.
And I said, okay, Creator. So what you saying, and Dr. Amos Wilson, he made a good point on a couple DVDs I got, and he got a lot of clips on YouTube. He made his transition, but some great information. And this is what he's saying about Africa. He said, how can Africa be a poor country when the Creator put all the natural resources? And how can the people be poor? He said, poor consciousness.
Consciousness.
And that's what we got to work out of.
Yes. And
Yeah.
like, you receiving the money is not a surprise if you know how vibration works.
Well, at that time, I wasn't as deep thinking on that level, and cash
Yes.
in New York,
Yes.
going through the mail system.
I found that as I was working on my path, I experienced a lot of synchronicity.
You see?
Like how I connected with you again and the people I was meeting, just seeing the synchronicity when you're on a certain path and you're looking, you're sincerely
Thank you.
looking. When your sincere intent is to learn and to grow, and the books and the workshops and everything. I would click on an email and it's about something that's really, really interesting to me, or learning about a book or something. So just seeing how the synchronicity worked, that was really wonderful and really kind of fun also, really fun and joyous, because then it showed you're on the right path.
Thank you.
Once you start doing one thing, two things, you see how things start to
Come together.
start
Yeah.
to open for you.
Yeah.
And in terms of receiving, that's something I've been thinking about lately. How are people able to receive?
Thank you.
Because yes, with the gift, people might have been suspicious and said, "Oh, this is counterfeit.
Yeah.
This is this. What do they want from me?" Instead of just allowing
you.
yourself to receive.
Yes.
Like how many times you get a compliment. "Oh, you look really nice." "Oh, no, this is," just allow and receive the compliment. But that's something that we feel, oh, we shouldn't do that. We
Thank
shouldn't
you.
receive the compliment because maybe there's something behind it. And I think that's also an issue with your self-worth and self-value and trust.
Yes.
Like you can't receive someone saying good things about you. You can't receive someone doing something nice for you. But I think that is also definitely an issue with consciousness.
Well, and that's true. But from my experience, why so many people can't receive is from their childhood. Because a lot of time, parents, and I'm not saying they did it on purpose, but they damage us. And the same thing we was talking earlier about trust. I'm expecting my mother to protect me, because soon as a child get hurt, they call for mom.
Yes.
And when my father cousin tried to rape me, nobody said anything. Nobody did anything. And they let him come around the house the next day like nothing happened.
Yeah.
So that made me suspicious and didn't trust nobody.
Yes.
And I had a problem with receiving. So what you're talking about is on point, because when my son had to take me to the emergency because I could barely walk, going through the ascension symptoms, even though they couldn't find nothing wrong. They did the x-ray. And when my son got out of his SUV to come around, to help me get out, I wouldn't let him help me out. I said, no, I can do it, And this young man was coming out the emergency, saw me struggling. He cursed my son out so bad. I felt so guilty. And I said, God, I have to stop that. So he's cursing out my son. Don't you see? She can't hardly walk. You need to help her. He said she won't let me. And he was right. And that's when I had a wake-up call. So I'm more, I can receive help more now than before. But I didn't trust nobody.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. I think a lot of it. Then you got young people growing up, the parents, oh, you ugly. Oh, that's ugly what you got on. Oh, yeah.
I think there's a lot of conversation now about intergenerational trauma.
That
we're recognizing that our parents and grandparents, they did the best they could with what they knew.
Thank you.
But nowadays, we don't have to repeat things. Like they say, oh, well, we've been eating pork in our family for years. But you've also had diabetes and high blood pressure.
And all kind of illnesses.
Yes. And at this point where, oh, these things run in your family, well, you can be the person to run these things out. You know, the things like the trauma or the family members that we know are toxic, that our children should not be around,
Thank you.
and how we protect them and say to our little children, our little boys and girls, oh, so and so wants a hug, and our children with their spiritual instinct know they don't want to go to this person, but we're telling them, no, go to them, go to them, and we should honor what the child's intuition and spirit is telling them. They
Yeah.
don't want to go to that person.
And there's a reason.
Yes, yes, and we need to,
But
trust
parents
that.
push, go ahead, that's your uncle.
Yes,
And it turned out later he was the child molester.
the toxic person in the family.
But
yes.
anyway, tell the audience the end of the show.
Yes. So basically, my mission is to spread awareness about holistic healing and natural healing. Of course, we go to the doctors and things like that, but there's other methods we can use for healing. We can use the herbs, we can use the massage, we can use things that have been used for centuries as well. We also talk about energy healing and vibration and your thoughts and things like that, which are very important for emotional, physical, and
Thank
mental
you.
healing. So my Facebook page is Bronx Holistic Healing, and I also list a number of Bronx-based practitioners, so we don't have to get on any trains or buses or cross any rivers. Holistic and natural healing is here in the Bronx on the mainland.
Thank you. And the creator in me greets the creator in you. Thank you.